Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be talking about depression, why we need to have this conversation here, and why it's important to understand what depression is and how we can work through it. Now, myself, I have worked through depression for many years. I feel most of my life it has been something that has been very familiar for me. But since I've been doing the conscious work and diving more into myself, I can understand what depression truly is. Now, it's going to be different for everyone. And you may have heard some really interesting references to depression. Jim Carrey, for example, referenced depression when our avatar is tired of acting, essentially meaning that our persona that we have built, that we have constructed is not working anymore. It's not in alignment with our true self, with who we really are on a deep level. But it takes time to also understand who we truly are if we have built a persona, if we've built a life around a certain belief system or unconscious pressures through society or from maybe our family. So there is a process of dismantling our old constructs, our old belief systems, and the persona that we have developed as a result. And when we get closer and closer to our true self, we will hit moments of depression. We will hit moments of uncertainty because we are unlocking deep belief systems, maybe even traumas within ourselves that are going to become activated, that are going to find their way out of our system. And so I do feel that there are a few ways of looking at depression. As Carl Jung stated, the foundation of all mental illness is the unwillingness to experience legitimate suffering. So the unwillingness to experience legitimate suffering is very crucial. It's negating some of these deeper, darker aspects of ourselves, maybe even our ego, maybe even areas that we need to look at in order to improve our lives. Now, we can move through life in a very strong, a very determined, and a very direct way, avoiding some of these aspects within ourselves or completely numbing them out, which in the long run will catch up to us eventually. And so I'm going to record another video on our belief system and how we can also move forward with a lot of confidence in ourselves. But as I mentioned, at some points, we will hit these dips in our lives of uncertainty, of questioning ourselves, or even feeling misaligned with our true authentic self, with what we're meant to do, with who we are. And depression can, for some, be a lifelong experience. Depression can come in waves, can come in little moments of time and hit us really hard. It causes a lot of immobilization. It causes a lot of sadness. It may cause anger. And it creates a lot of confusion about our path in life and also who we are. But during this moment is actually a very, very powerful opportunity to go within and to not dismiss it and to not get angry and frustrated or feel ashamed for how you're feeling. Depression is a key to understand ourselves in a very deep way. It allows for change to happen. And sometimes when depression happens, it feels like it may never end. And this is why I want to talk about this, because of my early 2024, my beginning of the year, which was really obscure. I was feeling good at the very start of the year, and then I went right down into this where I felt like I was actually regressing into old feelings and patterns of the past. So I was worried, but I was also able to observe it differently. And in the past, in my old life, I would live in depression full time, even without realizing it. And it was limiting me in so many ways. It was causing addiction, addictive behaviors. It was causing impulsive behaviors. It was really damaging a lot within my body and with my life, with all areas of life, relationships as well. So now when I see depression coming in, when I can feel it, when I can sense it, it is very real and it is very consuming, but I also have an ability to start witnessing it a little bit differently, to start looking at why is it here and what is it telling me, to also observe any repeating thoughts and emotions from my past. So this can come in as anger, frustration, I can't, what if, fear of the future, fear of failing, the worst case outcome, worst case scenario. And so if you go through depression, then you may have an opportunity to create powerful change in your life. And this is the cycle that I have within myself, where I go into these really dark, deep moments, but then when I come out, I feel like a new person. And I've talked about this before, the death and rebirth phase. And it is a very real cycle. It is a very real cycle. And there are a few theories that I have around what is happening. One is going to be, yes, old beliefs, old constructs that we have developed since early life. As I mentioned, from childhood and from maybe family caregivers, also societal pressures, things we've observed and also morphed and adjusted towards in order to adapt, in order maybe to survive, and in order to fit in. And so those ways of adapting, surviving, fitting in, the belief system that we have created and hardwired since early life becomes someone else's belief system or the construct of something that has happened, but not our own true belief system that we have on a very deep core level. And so, as I mentioned, this is a exercise of unwinding those belief patterns so that we can reach our trueness, our true greatness, our authenticity. But the depression aspect is going to be one of not living in our authenticity. So yes, we can get depressed because we are not in alignment with who we truly are and the life that we truly feel in alignment with. But as I mentioned, there are steps to go through creating the alignment and to create the confidence of within ourselves and the path that we're on. The other, I feel, is going to be this timeline that we're on right now where there is huge change happening within ourselves. There are going to be those who are consciously aware of the change that's happening within themselves, and then there are going to be those who are unconscious with the change that is wanting to happen within themselves. When you are conscious and you're aware, you can have a deep understanding, even through the darkness, of what is happening. And having the awareness as an observer, observing your story, your greater timeline, getting out of the ego, moving more into the heart, looking at life maybe through a different perspective, through a new lens, challenging old belief systems, rewriting belief systems, connecting more with yourself. And I feel when you're in that conscious work, then yes, you are going to go through these deeper moments because you're also unlocking those deeper aspects within yourselves that may hold trauma, that may hold difficult memories and difficult emotions that are becoming unlocked. And so this is the shift that we can find ourselves in. Also too, if you are a healer, if you're into very deep healing work, you could also be healing ancestral wounds, ancestral traumas. And I know there are a lot of you out there, myself included. It's what I've been told. It's what I feel. It's hard to put words to it. But there are a lot of layers under the surface that I can't put words to regarding the feeling, the sensation, or where they're coming from. Literally, I've been working away on my work, working on myself. And then all of a sudden, there'll be a big wave of depression that'll come in out of nowhere, completely non-provoked energy that will just come in and take over my day or my week or my month. And I do find that these waves are coming in as moments of transformation from a very deep, deep level. And this could be the process that a lot of us are in with regards to healing these cycles of our lineages. And so there is going to be part of that, but there is also going to be a part of us healing our own wounds of ourselves. And this can go very deep as well, right? So there are going to be bouts of depression that we may find ourselves in that may appear out of nowhere. And when we go in them, it may feel very dark and very, very deep, and it may even trigger some very dark and deep thoughts and emotions as a result. So if you're finding yourself going through that, give yourself some time to feel into it and to see where it is coming from and to know that it will pass. If you are aware, if you are conscious, it is a blip in time that will run its course. And all I have to say is be gentle with yourself during these moments. I know how difficult they can feel, and I know how almost never ending it will feel, but it will end and it will change and it will shift because you are changing and you are shifting. And when you come out of it, you will feel different. You will feel revived. So just continue pointing yourself in the direction of your goals, of your dreams, of your desires, and remaining true to your practice because it will lessen the impact of some of these severe moments that we may find ourselves in. So I do feel, again, it's going to be part persona. I feel it's going to be part the natural rhythm that we may find ourselves in for transformation that needs to happen. But the more that we are aware, the greater impact we will create within ourselves to get out of those situations and to make sense of what is happening. Again, if you notice yourself in repeated thoughts and feelings and even seeing your life in a different lens, through a different lens of fear, of negativity, of worry, of doubt, of sadness. Take a look at where that is truly coming from and try to separate from that story and give it space to work its way out. And this goes into the video that I recorded on trust, because trust is crucially important during these difficult times, where we can exercise that little muscle of trust between lack of trust and full trust and surrender, and knowing that we are taken care of and that we are on the right track. And it is just a matter of moving through this in the most gentle and compassionate way as possible. So those who are unconscious about this, they are not going to be aware of what's happening within them. Unfortunately, this is the importance of this work. And I know for a lot of people, this is hitting a lot of people very hard. Those who are unconscious and not aware of what needs to change within themselves, unfortunately, will find themselves in this deep depression and may not be able to find a way out. And this is the unfortunate case of this type of work. And it's the necessary aspect of this work, because we can get out of it. We can understand it. And as I mentioned with the quote from Carl Jung, mental illness is the unwillingness to witness legitimate suffering. If we don't go into it, then we are just going to bypass, we are going to avoid, we are going to suppress, we're going to numb out, and it will fester within ourselves. It will come up in many different ways, and it will prevent us from being in alignment with the life that we truly want and being all that we can be. And as I mentioned in many of my other videos before, it will affect the body. This will definitely catch up in some way and come out in body illnesses, aches and pains. And I also have to mention seasonal depression, also known as seasonal affective disorder, which is a type of depression that occurs at specific times of the year. For example, in the change of seasons, maybe going into fall, and also during the winter here in the Northern Hemisphere, as we start to lose our sun. And not only where I'm at, we don't have much sun, much daylight. We also have a lot of cloud coverage and a lot of kind of depressing and despairing energy. So this can play into this time of year. Again, as I mentioned, this will pass. But this is also a natural rhythm of our life. The highs and the lows and the downtime where we can get extra rest. This is not a time to push. That is not a time to try to force ourselves through this. This is a time to take rest and take pause and be within and feel within, especially. So I know in the month of January, my content over on Instagram especially went a little bit dark. I tend to like exploring this area because I know there is so much value to it. And I know that there is an importance of really going deeper within ourselves during these times to observe. And even if we need to yell, even if we need to be angry, even if we need to journal and write things down out of spite and anger and resentment, that is okay. And you are perfectly okay, and you are perfectly fine when you go through this process, even though it doesn't feel like it. This can really throw us off our practice. But again, this is sort of the period that we're in right now as we go through radical transformation. And so we have to go through this unwinding of our old in order to align with our new. And if you have any questions at all, and if you are struggling at all, please do not hesitate to reach out. I am fully here. I understand what it's like. I'm going through it as well. But I also have to reassure you, the more work that you do with yourself, on yourself, the greater outcome you will have. And this is why I'm very passionate about talking about this and doing this work, because I have gone through it. And I am speaking from the other side of doing this work and how good it feels when I put in the practice to overcome some of these really darker moments in my life. So I'm wishing you all the best with your journey and beyond. And I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Take care.